Welcome to Horror Movies and Beyond. Today, I'm joined by writer-director of this intense action thriller called 5 Pounds of Pressure. Let's welcome Phil Allocco.
Hi, so
Welcome.
nice to see you. So nice for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me on this. Yeah, I checked this film out and I was blown away because it was so intense and so involving. And I didn't read anything about it. I always try to go in as blind as I can be. And it felt so realistic. It felt like this wasn't just someone made this up and just threw it on a page, which I really do appreciate. It felt authentic and the characters and everything about it. And it's such a fast pace about the streets and everything like that. So, but then I read your director's statement and then I was like, I was right. This wasn't something that was just completely just thrown together on here. It just felt so realistic. So, um, why was it important to tell this story?
I think that's and by the way, thank you for saying all those great things about the film. And I'm so glad that you connected with it. It's such a challenge when you're a filmmaker, you make at least that's the world the way I experience it. And somebody may watch it and not agree or feel like it's not real, but I tried to convey what seemed to me to be real about it. And I feel like I think it was cathartic for me because I did grow up around people like this. It is a world that I know and or knew, and I always struggled with it. And it was challenging as a writer too, because there are things that are, you know, I guess maybe things we've seen before or stereotypical, or there are certain topics that we just see a lot about in movies. So, you know, it's a interesting kind of thing as a writer,
Hmm.
trying to write about stuff that has been written about a lot, but you try to bring your personal perspective to it, and how you've experienced it and see it. And I have gone through some extreme circumstances around people who've been on both sides of doing some of these terrible things and
Hmm.
struggled with my own anger or trying to find empathy or trying to understand it or put it into context. Because a lot of times there are these gray areas, even in things that seem very, black and white on paper, right and wrong. When you
Yeah.
get to the nitty gritty of it, I think, you can, I feel like it starts to get hard when you understand how people are struggling in this kind of world.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. This story, it because I lived in an area that wasn't, so nice, and I saw how the streets could turn a person. But also, what I wanted to point out about this story is that the story really shows like no matter how much you believe you've suffered, the consequences of your actions has no expiration date.
Right.
And the brutality and the cruelty, you have to still take accountability. It's just when it would happen, when it come in full circle. And that's what you see in this film because you're rooting for, Adam and want him to things. And then as it progresses, you see these other stories that intertwine. And you're just like, okay, when will this all come to the surface? And it's kind of like it's gut wrenching because you just have no idea when.
And that's how it kind of felt in my
Yeah,
neighborhoods and stuff, because you felt
yeah.
this things are gonna happen. And then also there's like a mundane quality. Like,
Hmm.
people who are living this way, it doesn't happen overnight. There's like a very you get comfortable doing, I'm thinking of like Mike and Left and small time drug dealing and guns. It all seems kind of very mundane and everyday. And it's
Hmm.
those little steps where you make the things that are, make those things ordinary. And I think
Hmm.
violence and it progresses, I think even with, not that this film's about street gangs, but there's a certain level of normalcy to their lives every
Hmm.
day where it's not like some big dramatic thing. Uh,
Yes.
all of the things they're doing, they're just, you know, um, and I think Rory gives a really great idea too of showing us somebody who's uncomfortable with that, fit in anywhere, where Left is trying to get him more comfortable.
Like I said earlier, it felt like it was written from experience. and it was more based on emotion and feeling. It wasn't just this unplanned thing that these characters would do. It wasn't random. And there was something in your director statement that you said you wrote this a way that empathy and understanding for people to know, know this. And in neighborhoods, you don't talk about things like that. From pride, ignorance, drugs, and weapons, it creates an endless cycle. So when you were writing this and trying to have the sense of reality and sense of levity that you said, do you feel that the clarity and closure of the violence was an experience for you as you write this? Like you were able to bring this out through each of these characters, even though you did have to elevate who they are, but was it a part of you and your visual of what
No,
you
I don't
see?
know. I think we're always just telling stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things that affect us, you talk about it and you
Yeah.
put it in your art. And, I don't even when I started writing it, I didn't plan to write something cathartic. I actually had an experience when I was young. When I look back at it, remember my brother's friend was 8 years, he's 8 years older than me, my brother. And I was like 10 years old. He pulled me in this car and he was
Mm-hmm.
drunk and had a gun and waving it around, telling me he's going to kill someone. I thought I didn't know if he's turning on me. I don't know how to read that. I don't know if you've been with someone who's violent and drunk
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know where it's going to go and their anger. And I just wanted to get out of that car. And I didn't talk about it after that. I just kind of got out at 4 a.m. was spent 4 hours in that car. Was like, thank God. But he wound up a couple of weeks later killing someone. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, when I look back at it, I didn't write this with that in mind. Probably didn't even think about it. And I think unconsciously it was probably cathartic because that's the kind of experiences or the people, not that that scene is in the film or anything like that, but that's the kind of
Mm-hmm.
world where it was kind of everyday enough for me to like get out of that and know, okay, I didn't get killed. That's great. I can go to bed and not think about it.
Yeah.
And also not know what he's going to do because there's threats like that all over the place when you're in neighborhoods like that. You're seeing it everywhere on your corner. You just try not to get in the way. And
Yeah.
and by no means am I claiming to have lived in the worst of the worst. There's,
Mm-hmm.
that's just the tipping of the iceberg of that. But I think I was fascinated by people living and struggling and what that pressure does when you feel like you're living between the cracks of society. You feel like the city doesn't work for you. You don't trust the
Mm-hmm.
police. You don't trust the systems there. You don't trust anything there other than, and you don't own anything. And you feel like
Yeah.
the city's an obstacle that's you have to get through, and you feel like you have a bigger responsibility. Like these characters, like someone like Eli, feeling like, okay, Adam came back into your neighborhood and he killed your older brother. What are you going to do about it? There's this pressure,
Mm-hmm.
like, what do you, what does it say about you if you let that happen? And that's a kind of toxic masculinity, that kind of ignorance and ego kind of meshed where you feel like somehow you have to do something that,
And that's why this story works, because you're not only watching Adam, you're seeing Mike, you're seeing Laura, you're seeing Eli, you're seeing all these characters of how one incident affect everyone. It's so dynamic. You have this sense of like things are going to be okay, but are they? Like, because when Donna is like, no, you left us, and no, and then you meet Jimmy. I mean, it's just all these things, but it's just where is it going to push? How far is it going to go? And I literally just I cried. I my eyes watered up because I lived in a neighborhood. I've been in situations where they were very dangerous and you think you get out of it. So when I saw the whole thing and then the ending just tore me. It tore me apart. And I
oh,
think people are really gonna resonate and understand, I get it, but sometimes things happen and you have no control over it. And yeah, I think people are going to really capture this and just absorb these characters because they're real. They're realistic. They can happen.
what you're saying is like what you dream of as a filmmaker, to hope that you connect or the story connects. And I think too, like, one of the things that I was trying to look at is like, you could have your plans, right? Like Adam has his plan. It seems so innocent. I'm just going back to see want to see a son who doesn't know me and just want to see what he looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But that action is a chain reaction, setting all these things in motion, what it does to Eli, what it does to Donna, her boundaries. He's just
Mm-hmm.
crashing into our world, and here she's trying to protect her son. What does that do to her son in her mind? She's thinking, what does it do when he finds out that his father is a murderer? That means he's damaged for life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And information, what does that do to the psyche of a young kid? Does he glorify it? Does he romanticize it? Does he feel like he's damaged because if he did it, then maybe I am that? So
Mm-hmm.
I think all of these things I was trying to, show that how we bounce off of each other, our actions affect, that's why I think I was so moved by or interested in the trigger pressure. It's such, here it is, this light thing of a minor action, but so many lives are changed forever in the balance,
Yes,
and not
exactly.
just one
Exactly.
generation, you're affecting another generation because
Mm-hmm.
Adam makes that mistake, but then we're seeing, how much do things change.
Mm-hmm. Also, it's not only just the story and you're in directing, it's the casting. I mean, this was like, I mean, everyone was great, good, perfect for the role they were in. Rory Culkin, I grew up watching, his little fun or, sci-fi or whatever. And that was my first time seeing him in something like that. I
Oh,
was like, wait, he's really grown up. Okay. I mean, even Luke Evans, I saw him as a vampire and then as this. I mean, but they're great. And that goes for not only your directing, which is absolutely fantastic, but the casting as well. And it was just a great choice of these characters.
oh, thank you so much. I mean, I was thrilled. We had Luke first, and I feel like an actor like Luke who can do anything. I mean, a lot of these actors, they can do anything. I mean, but here he is, playing a Brooklyn guy with a very specific dialect. And I feel like, the character he brought feels so real to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I saw Rory in a film called Lords of Chaos. And I saw a bunch of his films. I just think he's an amazing actor. And I just really wanted him for Mike because I saw the kind of empathy he had brought other characters who are doing extreme things, and he's so able to make it real, but also make you empathize with that character. And
Mm-hmm.
I really thought it would be great for Mike because Mike does a lot of questionable things, not very
Very
likable.
questionable.
And of course, Alex Pettifer is a phenomenal actor.
Mm-hmm.
He really can do anything, and I think he did such a great job with Left. And I love even the sign, how guarded Left is, and but he does find a way to show us the humanity and his emotion in it, which that's all the actor bringing that to the table. So and look, it's Stephanie too. I mean, Stephanie, she breaks my heart in some of those scenes. I
Mm-hmm.
feel her pain and her emotion, and so I couldn't be more thrilled with the cast. So you're talking to the someone who's already sold on all their performances. So I'm not objective.
Yeah. And lastly, I wanted to say is that not only, Luke Evans' character, Adam, people have to understand that he was this young person that did this terrible thing. And when he comes back, he still has that mindset. He's still there.
Yeah.
So, and so this innocent quality that he's given is just that I'm trying to start off where I left off. And I definitely felt that.
I'd so love that you picked up on that because that I think is such a great thing that Luke brought to that role.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of studies and stuff that talk about when people leave prison, they kind of pick up where they left off. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's like an arrested development for those years. And
Mm-hmm.
I do love that and that was his choice to bring this kind of innocence, as if he's still that young kid. It's kind of going back on the street. It's like it's like he's a kid again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the relationship he had with Rudy Pankow. I loved Zach Adams playing Eli. I think he really, I feel like that was a really difficult role to, build
Mm-hmm.
that up and make it believable. I hope we succeeded, but I think that was a real challenge in the writing and in the production of it to, how do we get from one place to where he
Mm-hmm.
winds up? and make
Oh,
us like we
mm,
understand the ride that he's on, or why he's doing what he's doing. I feel like that's really challenging to in a film to try to do. So I hope it works. I'm
yes.
glad it worked for you. So that's awesome.
So, but I want to say thank you so much for talking to me about this film. Like I said, it really took me there to another. It made me remember some things that I went through, but man, it was just gut wrenching and intense. So I think, like I said, people are going to enjoy it. This film, it will be out in theaters, on digital, and on demand March 8th. So definitely, by the time this video come out, it'll be out. So, so check this out. So thank you so much, Phil. This was very, very informative, and I enjoyed this conversation. This film
Thank
is
you
great.
so,
Check out 5 Pounds of Pressure.
thank you so much for having me. You were great, and I
Thank
so appreciate you having me. This was so much fun. Thanks.
thank you.